Yes, you're gonna use at a point in time some style guide, or you might use a design system or just a UI kit. It's important to understand the differences. I've seen plenty of experts, mistaken one for the other, or talking about something but naming it differently. Sometimes maybe because it just sounds more modern or fancy. Other times, yeah, because there's some confusion out there in how we use the language. So let's start with the style guide. Style guides existed for a long time. And normally, a style guide is part of the brand book or the brand manual. Every company, organization has such a thing. Usually it's put together by the brand manager or the marketing director with a team or with an external company that is hired to provide the brand definition. So how this entity will manifest itself and show itself to the audience. I'm talking here to the stakeholders, customers, partners, and so on. And an important part, though not the only one, but an important part is the visual, because 86% or more of the information we perceive through our eyes. And you're gonna find the definition of the logo, how the logo is made, different shapes that combine together, the colors that apply to the logo, how the logo scales, how it will work online versus in print, and of course things to avoid that some people might try to do with the logo, and of course distort the brand communication. Another piece of the style guide is the colors, okay, and you're gonna find definitions, the color codes, but one step further, yeah, we do name the colors because it makes it easier to communicate among ourselves which particular red or blue or green you're using for what. Typography, very important element is the typography, and I mean here the font families you choose, the font weights, font styling, the how the titles look, yeah, the rules that you apply to paragraphs, line lengths, alignments, and so on. There are companies that will also specify what not to do with the type. Don't apply effects or drop shadows, or don't overlay text on images because it makes it harder to read. Don't be surprised if organizations have a certain font family they go with online and slightly different in print. That can happen. You might have companies that communicate some ideas through illustrations, very simple, flat 2D illustrations, or quite 3D looking, isometric, with plenty of colors. So not all the illustrations are created equally. Imagery, again, it's an important component. Companies that communicate efficiently and seamlessly, they will have a quite clear definitions on how to take product shots, how to feature people in their images, and so on. Rules in terms of how these people should be dressed, because they will do those photo shooting sessions on specific lighting conditions, angles, and then the whole post-processing. Basically, that's what you're gonna find in a style guide. If you're a UI designer or interaction designer, you're gonna see that is not enough to have the style guide. If you just be a visual designer or web designer, that would be okay. But if you're working on web applications and multiple screens that support different interactions, you're gonna need to have a set of components. Basically, that's the UI kit. It's like an inventory or a library in Figma or Sketch or whatever you use, where you keep all your components like buttons, overlays, dialog windows, alert messages, progress bars, menus, and form control elements, like input fields, date pickers, radio buttons and checkboxes, and so on. It helps speed up the work. It helps the designers stay consistent, and of course easily share um, among themselves those type of resources. Now you understand why this is a different thing compared to the style guide. It will leverage the things that are already defined in the style guide, but it takes them one step further and usually, yeah, is tailored to whatever you find on the screen, mobile apps and web application. Okay, this is all fine until you have multiple teams in different geographic areas. I don't know, people onboarding or leaving the company, developers, product owners, and so on. Over here, indeed, it's more practical to have a design system, and the main thing with the design system is that whatever components are in the library, in Figma, let's say, need to reflect on the developer side in some code repository, and again follow certain rules, so that when a designer uses that UI kit to create or update existing flow, the developers can easily branch and use the same components. Okay. Otherwise, uh, there's a huge risk of having things that don't align, that don't look the same. To give you an example of design systems, well, think about the Material IO. Okay, it has the entire philosophy on how Google, yeah, deals with design, yeah, constraints, limits, things to do, things to avoid. They have showcased interactions, they have a showcased code snippet. Also, how you deal with different components in responsive, or how you might find them in a native app versus a web application. Because oftentimes it's not like one-on-one. You might need to swap for an entire new component more suitable to that platform you're designing for. So you can see a design system is not only a thing yep, dedicated for the UI designer or for the UX designer, but for the entire organization, advocating for how design decisions are taken, good practices, accessibility rules, and so on. Other examples, if you want to look up design systems, look into the IBM design system, that's Carbon. Oracle has one, Microsoft has Fluent Design, and again Salesforce, Shopify, they have their own design systems, and they are publicly available. Okay, that's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.